w charakterze ramienia świeckiego.
Знаете, что такая у нас была пропаганда? Что там у нас крест.
That's where the crosses were.
И там был костел.
There's a legend that he celebrated 3 masses over there, and that's where they caught him, and people say they dragged him away and tortured him to death. He was saying Mass right there, where the cross was. And then they captured him. They tied him to a horse and dragged him here, to this mud. Why did the Cossacks torture Bobola in such a cruel way? Such were the laws enforced during this horrible ordeal in the Eastern Territories that belonged to Poland at that time. When Bobola had suffered every kind of beating, the Cossacks asked him whether he would like to convert to the real faith, that is, to the Orthodox Church. Then he said without hesitation that he wasn't going to deny his faith.
Zdecydowanie powiedział, że on chce zostać przy swojej wierze. They tore the skin off his back so that the wounded area resembled a chasuble. They scalped him to make a kind of priest's tonsure. They gouged out his eye and cut off his tongue. And when the priests from the Society of Jesus later opened his coffin, they did not let the seminary students see this horrible sight. This seems paradoxical because Andrew himself is the victim of divided Christianity. Those who fought the Catholics put Andrew to death because they thought he was converting people to Catholicism, so it might seem he was in fact an obstacle in the reconciliation of all Christians. The mystery is that what seems to be an obstacle may turn out to be helpful. The stone thrown away by the builders becomes a cornerstone. Centuries, the cult of Bobola met with opposition. What forces were against it? Was it the Orthodox Church, Tsarism, communism, or perhaps something else? Here in this square there was a church. It was blown up, the area was covered with concrete. This place is connected with the beginning of Bobola's cult. The unusual story of the saint who had predicted that he would be the main patron of Poland began in Pinsk at the beginning of the 18th century. Father Marcin Godemski, the rector of Pinsk College, saw Bobola in a dream 45 years after his death. Bobola said something like this, you worry about the future of your college. You are looking for your allies and champions of the cause, and I can help you. On one condition, however, you have to find the coffin with my body and put it in some isolated place. The priests looked for the coffin for 3 days. At last, the coffin with the inscription, Andrew Bobola, murdered by the Cossacks, was found. When they opened the coffin, it turned out that after 45 years, the body had been well preserved. The rumor spread in the area. Not only did so-called simple people gather round the coffin, but also the nobility, the lords and barons, and even King August II himself. Among the pilgrims, in addition to Roman Catholics and Greek Catholics, there were also members of the Orthodox Church. If the body of people who died and were regarded as saints does not decay, members of the Orthodox Church interpret this fact as a sign. It is as if these people are the first fruits of the resurrection. The second appearance of Andrew Bobola took place in the Dominican monastery in Vilnius. This time, he appeared to Father Alojzy Korzeniowski, a great skeptic. This apparition was in 1819. It was very surprising because not only did the friar see Bobola, but Bobola told Korzeniowski to look through the window. And so there was also a vision. Korzeniowski saw a battlefield where soldiers of different nationalities were fighting. So it was a world war. When we reread about it now, we can say that it was probably a vision of World War I. And Andrew said, when the battle ends, Poland will regain its independence, and I will become the patron of Poland. So, when after the after the First World War, Poland regained its independence, people started to associate this event with Bobola's prophecy. He was already called the patron of Poland at that time. Bobola made his prediction 100 years before World War I, and because of its influence upon the Poles, it could have been inconvenient for the Tsarist rulers. I am convinced that Andrew Bobola has a very important part to play. Maybe his role will consist in strengthening the faith. In any case, I know that the Russians were really scared of his beatification, as they thought it would contribute to the strengthening of Catholicism, and they tried to prevent this in many, many different ways. The process of beatification lasted a long time, almost 150 years. There were different reasons for this delay. Firstly, the difficult political situation of the Church in Europe. Next, the partitions of Poland and the suppression of the Jesuit order to which Bobola belonged. In the meantime, the well-preserved body of Bobola was transported to Powązk. January uprising, the Tsarist authorities, worried that the cult of Blessed Andrew Bobola would develop among Catholics and also among members of the Orthodox Church, sent a special commission from St. Petersburg that jeered at Bobola near his coffin. Suddenly, a brick fell from the ceiling onto the head of a Russian official. The commission treated this incident as an intervention from the holy man, and they left Powązk in a hurry. After World War I had officially ended, times were still very, very dangerous for Poland, which was threatened with invasion from the east. It seemed that Poland would finally lose and that communism would flood the whole of Western Europe. It was then that the cult of Bobola, which was already meaningful, became particularly important for the Poles. In 1920, the Soviet army invaded Poland. In August, they were already on the outskirts of Warsaw. The situation seemed hopeless. You could get to the front by tram number 18 going to Stalowa Street, and there you could already hear bullets whizzing by. When you were on patrol, you had to be really careful not to get shot at. Till the middle of August, the situation was really difficult. There we heard about novenas to Our Lady of Częstochowa and to Blessed Andrew Bobola. My mother and sister told me that they prayed to Bobola asking for victory. I was not quite 18 then. I had to have my parents' permission to participate in it. My father was there and he said, "I agree, let him go." So they took me at once. There was no ammunition, no weapons. The hospitals were overcrowded. The wounded were lying in the streets. People were queuing for bread all day long. The inhabitants of Warsaw were desperate and hungry.
Miałam może 7 lat. Była wielka
I
uroczystość
was about 7.
na Starym Mieście.
In the old town, people prayed to Blessed Andrew Bobola.
Ogromnie uroczysta msza.
A solemn mass was celebrated. There were processions from all nearby churches. Bobola's relics were there. This all took place in the old town. Everything changed. It can only be called a miracle, and I'm not exaggerating. Should we believe in a miracle? I always do. But who did it? God did it. Was it Bobola? Or Our Lady of Częstochowa? Or Marshal Piłsudski? It doesn't really matter. It was a miracle. The miracle on the Vistula, this unexpected collapse of the communists and the withdrawal of the army, was even then ascribed to Bobola. Thus he confirmed that he was really trying to help this new but still vulnerable Poland. And for the communist authorities, he had always been an annoyance. In July 1922, an article written by Red Army cadets was published in Wersja Vitebskia. The cadets wrote, when Eufrosinia's coffin was opened, only a handful of dust was found. And the members of the Orthodox Church believe that a well-preserved human body is the condition for canonization. In the same article, they also wrote, we will show you how Catholic priests forge their saints. This threat concerned Andrew Bobola, whose body was still in Powązk, then in the Soviet Union. 2 years after the 1920 defeat, the communist authorities set up a special commission. Its task was to refute the myth of Bobola. The commission came to Powązk. Polish people, Catholics, defended the entrance to the church, as there had been earlier attempts at removing the relics. The army attacked people. Those who came there, most probably from Moscow, broke into the church, opened the coffin and tore canonicals off the relics. This was a profanation. They put up the coffin in an almost vertical position and hit the floor with it.